I'm just hopping out of the game. Don't worry about the mustache. Don't make any comments about it, all right? I don't want to see any comments on this video about the mustache. This is a video from Angry Joe Show, who in the past I thought handled himself like super poorly around Star Citizen so many times. But then when I look back, in a lot of ways, I feel like I was white knighting at the time. And I still think he handled himself really, really poorly with the Brian Chambers interview. But he also like wasn't wrong at the same time, and kind of was like, yo, but when's the game going to happen? And then it never did. So was he really that wrong? Probably not. Right. So my tune is changing, or tone is changing on him a little bit. The reason this was linked to me, though, is kind of cringe. Apparently they mentioned me and people were like, oh, you were mentioned. Oh, you were mentioned. Oh, you were mentioned. I'm watching this more from an outside perspective on the Galaxy thing. And am I overblowing this? Am I crazy or anything like that? I don't think I am. And but a lot of people in the comments are saying I'm overblowing things and stuff like that, and I'm doing it for the views and blah 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 blah. So let's see what the outside thinks a little bit. These are the outside haters of Star Citizen, I would say, though. So they're coming in here with a bias for sure. For sure. They feel Star Citizen has wronged them and so on and so forth. So just understand that when you're hearing some of the things that you're probably going to hear. But again, I haven't watched this video, so I have no idea. They're talking about something else, so the start of this might be a little weird.
Well, it's a good thing you brought that up, because it's another thing that so a bunch of people in our community are really big into Star Citizen, and they've been pretty mad at us.
Do your research, Alex.
Yeah.
We're idiots.
And so I spent a lot.
Mad at you and me and for talking shit
totally
over it. Did you read these comments?
It's okay. I think it's okay to talk shit, but make sure you're right. And I think a few times that I've watched their new stuff, they haven't been right on what they're saying, or they're pretty off base on some things.
What's one specific one?
Basically, it's like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Do your research if you're gonna be talking about it.
No presenting new points. They just say do your research, sheeple, and they just, because they don't have other points to
do your research.
They were mad at me because
I don't know if I've ever posted a react on YouTube from them, but whenever I've watched it on stream, I have definitely pointed out what they don't get right. It is very frustrating when a commenter says, you are this, you are wrong, you are that, but there's no evidence as to what you were saying wrong. And then you ask them in the comments and they never respond. And you're just like, why am I doing this?
Research was that they've been showing off this worm. The things that we talked about were literally things that they were presenting.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I read an article that said that it had been feature complete 2 years ago, and it was technically 1 year and 9 months. So it's 1 year ago, but 9 months. And so I was off.
Oh.
And because I was off
by a few months.
And so, but the context of the context is still important, that it's been feature complete for a long enough period of time that it doesn't need 2 more years of polish. Because if you need 3 years to polish your game, it's not feature complete.
But they got mad at you.
But they got mad.
Because you said that it was feature complete.
That I read that it was.
That you read it was, and you were off by a few months.
I'd done my research, yeah.
It sounds.
But they announced it being feature complete at CitizenCon, so that person is probably saying that it was feature complete. Where are you getting 1 year, 9 months from? I have no idea where that information's coming from. So do they have more information than I do? Don't know. Doesn't really matter. It's feature complete and polishing are two totally different things, right? Is it weird that it's taking 3 years to polish a game? Yes. Do they want it to be perfect? Yes. Because if it's not, I think the whole game is cooked. So maybe that's why. But at the same time, that demo was not perfect either. Even without the crashing, I can think of a moment where the Vandal just kind of popped in and they weren't there, and then they were there, but the scene was there, but they weren't. So there was a lot of things that were not super polished either, right? So I don't know. I don't know how long it's supposed to take. I don't think any of us on the screen are game developers, so I have no idea how long things should take theoretically and how long they shouldn't. I've heard so many times how difficult UI is and why it takes so long. And but it's like, but just put a button there, you know? It's not that easy, apparently. So I kind of put my hands up on the timeline it takes to do X or how difficult Y is, because I just always get kickback on it, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. And so I just try to avoid that stuff.
It's more like a them problem than an us problem.
Yeah, but I can't do anything about them. I can only do things about me.
See, we talk about this game, you know, sort of casually because that's the shit that it deserves right now. When you have $700 million, and you're still languishing for a fucking decade or more, and my goddamn Kickstarter fucking money has resulted in fucking nothing.
You wasted $600
well,
or more.
I guess it has resulted in the playtest server and multiple alphas. Okay.
And a whole bunch of paperweights.
But someone in our community pointed out, and this is a person that had actually bought this ship, came to me and said, look, based on last year at CitizenCon, there was a ship called the Galaxy. And I'm going to go slow because I want to make sure I'm reading everything correctly.
I do. This is kind of funny, though, because the community is so ravaging that it's like, all right, hold on. Let me make sure I get everything right, because you're going to try and plug a hole in this somehow or poke a hole in this. There's no holes to poke. There are 0 holes to poke in this issue.
The Galaxy was shown off, and the Galaxy was important because it said that the Galaxy supports the ability to build small through large structures, and that's really important because they bought the ship because they wanted to have it do base building.
Yeah, the ship builds
stuff,
builds
right?
structures.
And it was a $380 ship plus.
And the next highest ship was $800. So if your budget or the amount of money you spent on the game is in the range of $300, $400, $500, which a lot of people are at, you might melt all those ships, get yourself a Galaxy because you're super hyped about base building. The Pioneer is $800. That's the one that builds extra large. So that's the next step in the picture here. The one in behind this right here, that's $800. So $380 is more affordable for a lot of people, right? So you might go ahead and throw in that money for this, or melt what you have and go with the Galaxy, right? Because then these are less than $100, the smaller ones.
There's a bunch of modules.
Jesus!
Takes it way over $500.
What the fuck?
Now
I can build myself a little cardboard mech cockpit for that.
Yeah. And so that was last year's CitizenCon. Now, what happened was someone had asked this guy, like the head guy, and he says there are no current plans. This is a year later. There are no current plans to have a base building module for the Galaxy. Now, that doesn't mean there will never be, but there is nothing concepted, planned, or in production schedule.
There's nothing concepted, planned, or in production schedule
why sell?
for the fucking thing that you were selling that said that this ship can fucking build buildings.
Now, in the sale menu, it didn't say that the ship could do that, but they on the slide, and I've got the slide, OG, we'll put it up, at CitizenCon, which you would expect them to be honest about.
You would expect them to be like on their, when you have the most eyes on you, you would expect to be giving accurate information, right? And information that most likely won't change within the next year.
Said that it could do those things. So a lot of people...
you see how I said it was on the purchase page. You're saying no.
It was just
we
on
did
the
our
con.
research. We're doing our research.
Picture
It's
it up
not
there.
on the purchase. It is on the convention.
I photoshopped
the convention slide when they were promoting the ship for purchase.
And then...
You know what research I didn't do? When they talked about it on ISC, did they ever mention it as base building coming in the future? Or not? It doesn't matter. It only matters what's on this slide. Because this is when the purchase went up. So this is when they literally sold the ship, right? So it only matters now. But I'm very curious if when they talked about it on like an Inside Star Citizen or something like that, if they doubled down and said that it will build structures as well, that makes it like even worse.
Assumedly sharing the ship for
And then so people were very, very upset, saying,
Yes.
"Look,
Rightfully so,
well,
because
it's not
You mean Star Citizen people were very, very upset because the rest of us had no idea any of this existed.
Yeah, and so the people who, even like Star Citizen fans, I watched a couple, they sent me a bunch of videos. They're like, hey, I'll send you some that you can put up there. Some of these people are Star Citizen stans. They are like staunch defenders, and even they were upset about this. It's like, look, one of them didn't purchase the ship, the other one had, and it's like, I only bought this ship because you said it could do these things. Now, of course, what they did is they realized that this backlash was happening, and people were like, hey, I need to do a chargeback. I want my money back. What are you going to do to make this right? And so the head guy said, there's emphasis on no current plans. This does not exclude that there were plans in the past, as inferred at the Star Citizen God. Not inferred, it was directly written on the goddamn screen.
Yeah, like you can't do this. You can't do this anymore. You can't be a Mickey Mouse company anymore. You can't. There's too many people here. There's too many eyes. There's too much money at stake for the backers and yourself. You can't be a Mickey Mouse company anymore and say you're going to do something and then do something completely different. You can't do it anymore. Right? That's it.
This is all legal, covering my legal ass.
Or that there could be again in the future, but there is simply nothing right now.
He's right about that too. I guarantee this specific post went past legal.
And then goes on. And then eventually that didn't help anything. And so there was an update. He said, I realize my previous comments may have given the wrong impression. I spoke too soon on this topic. I've since regrouped with the larger teams to ensure that we are fully aligned in the galaxy's future. To clarify, while there's no
in the
baseball...
galaxy's future, they're fully aligned.
Yeah, while there's no...
What these guys don't know is John Crew's the head of spaceships. This guy made this decision many months ago, but didn't tell any of us, didn't tell anybody.
Base building module...
Now, was the ship available on sale since he made that decision? Probably not, but still.
Currently in active development for the Galaxy, we're fully committed to enabling a large base building drone module for it down the line. So,
like, the fact that he has to go back and talk to the teams to find out this information, to me, is either actual bullshit, you forgot, or you're... Yeah, I don't know what to say there, but that is a really tough thing to...
So the people who paid $300 to $500 for a fake internet ship for a game that's not out yet get what they want. And what was crazy about this is, like,
I love that he said that specific quote.
And that's what's it.
That's our editorializing. Okay.
Yeah, and then what's wild about this whole thing is I love that consumers are able to lash out at someone. They pay. When you're a consumer, I'm supporting you. I'm pro-consumer. I'm anti-game company when it comes to them.
Yeah.
If they're anti-consumer, this is anti-consumer bullshit. You told us it was going to do
100%.
something, and then people paid $500. You know how many? You can buy a computer, not a great one, but you can buy a nice video card, $500, and it is wild to me that people would pay this much money for a fake internet chip. They can make fake internet real estate for something that's probably not coming out for 3 years.
Well, Alex,
7
Probably more, yeah.
years.
I bought property in the metaverse. I live next to Snoop Dogg.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
The fucking fake Snoop Dogg.
This guy doesn't say much, but when he does, let me tell you something. It's great.
Goddamn house that you get to brag. You lived next to Snoop Dogg's assistant's staffer who is using
The
this as an
metaverse is
opportunity
selling
to make
prime
Snoop
real
Dogg
estate.
$20,000 more in a promotional deal. So they say that he may have logged on at some point in his life into the house
It's
next to
prime
your
real
house.
estate, Joe.
It is, but the problem is the weed smoke can't get you in the metaverse, and so like you can't just like put your head in the cloud that's going over your fence to get the fringe benefit.
He has assistants that he hires to make sure that people he smokes with don't get too high. I read that.
Oh. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Like he seems like a
nice guy.
an awesome
All
guy.
right, but anyways, we're way off topic,
So
Joe.
this and then this is something they kept sending me more things,
Sure.
and then I went down the rabbit hole again.
But you don't understand. You need to do the research.
So-
that guy is wrong. You're wrong. You're all fucking wrong. Star Citizen is the best game, and the only reason why they just want it, they're after them. That's what it is. They're after them, and they're just smearing them because they're not.
you know what it is? People think that if people watch this video or watch other people's videos of anything negative around the game's never going to come out. But what I've realized, and I don't know if these guys have realized yet, you could say whatever you want, but the company never is held accountable for anything. They don't care. They'll do whatever. I think this one was so bad that they were like, damn, we can't be that bad, though. Like, we don't care, but we can't be that bad. And they were like, yeah, we got to go back on this one a little bit.
Not mainstream. And all of this is lies. That is fake news. Mm-hmm. Fake news.
Yeah, exactly.
Those were the kind of comments that we were getting when we were like, hey, Star Citizen is kind of, doing some fucked up things.
We're going to get more.
No, that's lies.
We're going to get more.
And so then we were pulling up some like really, really famous streams where this guy, a really big Star Citizen streamer, was trying to play with a bunch of people, and they couldn't because people would constantly disconnect and like nothing was
That's Morph.
working. And then another one where there was a ship apparently called the Corsair. I'm hoping I'm getting this. I didn't pull up that one, but it was super OP, and then people spent a bunch of money because it was going to be a really amazing fighter with all these different guns, and then they realized it was too OP, and so they nerfed it.
Yeah.
And
Good. People buying spaceships because they're overpowered on the website and then getting mad when it gets nerfed. Nobody should feel bad for those people. You're an idiot. You're an idiot, and you were trying to game a system, and then the actual company, this is not something you shit on the company for. This is something you praise the company for. Thank you for taking any ship that is overpowered and bringing it within balance with the rest of the game. Did they balance it in a good way? No. Nope. But if you are going on the website and buying ships because it's OP, and then you get mad because it's not, I'll use Joe's words, that's a you problem. Nobody feels bad for you. Okay?
And then all these people are like, hey, I only bought it because it had these things, and now that it doesn't, it's kind of like a useless ship that is, on par with these other ships that are cheaper than it. Mm-hmm. Also, 3 years down the line, when you need more money, you're going to put out an even better fighter that is even better than this. And
that's true, though.
so there's a lot of people.
We all know that's true. The power creep is real.
Starting to see some of the cracks in it, where if you're donating all of this money to this company that's mismanaging. Their financials have said that they've spent way too much money, almost all of the money that they've raised so far. And so they're kind of mismanaging their funds, and it's your funds, the people who are giving them money, and they're going to keep selling bigger and better ships that are going to outclass everything that they've sold.
Hard to say if they're mismanaging their funds. That one's tough for me, because what is there? If you look back at CitizenCon this past year, so many people were like, all the things they're talking about are basic game mechanics, right? They're like nothing special. They shared very little that was special at CitizenCon. Very little, right? But what they spent all that money on was sort of the stuff that's on the screen in the background here that not a lot of other games can do, right? Is that they spent so much money getting to that point, or this point, because I can kind of point at it, that I won't say that they mishandled their money necessarily, because that exists, right? Which is pretty cool. Is like the zero loading screens, the huge planets, and all that stuff. And then if they do what they said at CitizenCon, which theoretically should be a lot simpler, because it's just numbers, it's a lot less super tech to make this stuff work. It's hard for me to say it's mismanagement. I'm not going to say it's not, but I think why I was more excited from this year's CitizenCon than even last year's probably is the fact that they already have this special experience in the game that is super unique from anything else, right? The getting in your ship, getting out of it, the huge scale, all that stuff. If they put these basic ass, super basic things that you see in every other game in this one, then all of a sudden you have like a really special game. If they're able to add the polish on top of it, then you have like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 kind of game. And So it's hard for me to say they're mismanaging their funds, but he's not lying in the fact that they have spent all of their money already, right? Their own funding charts say, I have spent all the money to get to this point. And what people see at this point is not very fun.
Before, and I don't think that that's a good way to treat the people who are backing you. So again, I hope this game is awesome. I'm going to play it when it comes out. I'm going to play Squadron 42.
I'm not going to spend nothing.
But I'm also not going to give them $400
Well, you have to
for
spend
ship.
something. It's not a free-to-play game.
I'll give him $60. I'll give him $70.
It's going to be $70.
It's going to be. I'll give him
It might be a free-to-play game by the end of it.
$70 to play the game, and it's could probably, hopefully, be
You could say mismanagement is focusing on art rather than gameplay. Yeah, sure, absolutely.
a good time.
Yeah.
But the
I
problem,
told you I'm going to have the wooden
I've said
ship.
that a million times.
The wooden ship.
Yep.
it's going to be
the cheapest.
It's a
cheapest
fishbowl
thing, and ram everyone who have expensive ass ships. I could dent them, and they'll be like, "Well, I guess you're going to have to file a claim."
Well, I was
He doesn't know about Maelstrom.
trying to find, you know what, Star Citizen should really give more money to these people that make videos on Star Citizen. This is peak Star Citizen, 30 hours on a capital ship. So give more money to Detox. Give more money to Captain Flynn. You know, these YouTube channels, because I was watching.
Yo, this Captain Flynn guy, I don't know if you've seen him on YouTube. His videos are really fun to watch.
These videos, and they're fucking awesome. They're fucking fascinating. They're like, oh, here's an event where there's this big capital ship. You can have multiple people pilot it, but it's not for players. In fact, it's a ship that they sold, but they're not giving to other players. And so players are like, hey, we could get the ship that they're not giving to us if we take over the ship. And so they get into a clan. They try to attack the ship, and there's multiple attempts of them trying to get their guys in it, and the ship just wouldn't let them, and it's doing all. But then finally, one dedicated guy from this country, where who knows where it is, but he's logged on all the fucking time. He's like, hey man, on Discord, I got the ship. I'm on the ship, but I'm on the ship with a bunch of other players, and okay, I'm gonna kill them. And he like kills all these other players and takes it over. And like this.
So you're describing a lot of what we're saying about the game is already good. Right? The game's already like got something there that's special. It's just about not being so shit as far as stability and, well, yeah, just lack of like general gameplay for me personally, but there's something really special about it already. That's why CitizenCon was so interesting to me this year, is because it's not about making it any more special. It's about making it work.
This sells copies.
Oh,
This creates that hype that it's like, oh man, look at how awesome this can be. But even during those videos, they're like, oh yeah, the thing is broken, and this is broken, and this is broken. Oh, and we couldn't log on at this time. It's like, there's always that stuff. But if Star Citizen needs to, burn through money, they need to start giving some of the fucking YouTubers that are content creators that are passionate and dedicated to their game
There's some good videos.
fucking money.
Yeah, I was watching a lot of SaltEMike and some other people that are pretty high on it, and they show.
I said this before we watched this. They shouldn't be giving any of us money because the people in this community are already incredibly cooked. A lot of the content creators are, and the transactions that go through with this community are interactions or like what just happened here, like name drops and shit. The members of the content creation in this community are looking for attention in a lot of ways, is what I've noticed. And if CIG pays attention to them, they're really, really happy. But and they think if they say anything negatively, that the devs or the community team or the video team or whatever will not pay attention to them. And that's what I've noticed. So if they actually paid content creators, and I will say I have had more love from this company than any other creator in the space, and I am the most critical of them. I have been to Germany for Gamescom. I've been to LA to debut Star Marine. This was all many, many years ago. They don't do this stuff anymore. I've had my name shouted out on CIG stuff more than anybody. Right? But I'm critical. And like, here's a dev in the chat right now, Jakari. I pay most attention to the feedback that's critical because I'm looking to fix things. I don't want to hear how I'm amazing. They want to fix stuff. If they pay people, they'll never say anything bad.
Show these amazing moments, and I totally understand why people are super hyped for it.
Yep.
But they've wasted $700 million getting to this point, and you're ignoring all of the garbage, and you don't realize that they're taking advantage of you, and that's the problem that I have is like when they're screwing over their backers, and I don't think that I think the scope creep has gotten completely and totally out of control.
Yeah,
it sounds. Here's where if we are at all capable of holding them accountable, the scope creep has been out of control for years. But CitizenCon 2023 and 2024 was like, yo, by the way, we're going to tone down the scope creep and we're going to make the game. 2023 was like quality of life. Oh, remember all those features that like didn't work well and were really annoying? They're not going to be really annoying anymore. They still don't work well because this company. But 2024 was like, oh yeah, you know how there's like no game at all and there's tons of scope creep and we never make a game because there's tons of scope creep? Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to put like usable chats. We're going to make like basic crafting. Base building, that was scope creep from a long time ago, I would say. But it's still scope creep from what we saw at CitizenCon. Then at the end of CitizenCon, it ruined everything because they did massive scope creep and said they were going to make stations that attach to each other and blah, 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 blah. They couldn't help themselves. Most of, I would say 99% of CitizenCon was like, yo, by the way, no scope creep. And then they ruined it. Thank you for reminding me about the station at the end. I totally forgot because I'm trying to remove that black hole, that black spot on CitizenCon from my memory because it's never going to happen anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, we just wanted to highlight one news story for you where Star Citizen sold something and told
crafting is scope creep.
It turned out not to be the thing, but now they say, "Oh, don't worry, we don't have current plans."
While I would agree that it was never mentioned before, I don't know how you have any of the other features in the game without it. And they're not doing it in a way that is not been done before. So, yes, but it had to be there. So, no.
Plans, we're not denying that we didn't have plans that may have been unplanned, but were still planned at one point.
Sounds like it's
but
the
now
end, though,
we're
so I'll let
going
him
to plan
finish
to
here.
have some plans in the future to add it as a plan. Maybe once we're done with all the other things that we need to do.
Crafting is so doable, though. It's so simple to do. Remember that thing I said about UI? Apparently, it's very hard to do. So the idea of this item and that item makes this item, yes. But to make it work is probably not very easy.
Which in Star Citizen speak is that will be a feature in 17 years from now.
What's the name of the content creator that Mike and Joe said has really good videos? Captain Flynn. Captain FLYNN, something like that. All one word. He just was like pretty new to Star Citizen and just started like recording videos. Yeah, they're really, really good. They're fake. If I'm thinking it's the right guy, they're faked as hell, but they're fun to watch.
It's not maybe. They're definitely putting it in, is what he said. So
I might be mixing them up with someone else.
You're going to get eventually what you paid for, which is important. But we don't know when it's going to be because they've got a lot of other things to work on. And by the time that module comes in, there's going to be a cheaper, bigger, better ship that not only does small and large, but small to extra large.
Yes.
And this one's going to be $270.
And that one is going to have problems, and they're going to need to patch that one, and their team needs to take time to patch that on the game releases, and there's way more fires we need to put out than putting that module out. So, yeah, just trust me. It's going to be crazy for a while. But we'll let y'all know. We cover Star Citizen despite, some stands
our
getting
extreme
upset.
ignorance.
Yeah.
We cover it.
Well, no, we have good Star Citizen people in our community that are like, hey, you guys are right.
They send me all the stuff.
Hey, I'm not denying all this stuff. Like, that guy is fucking super sweet because he's like, hey, there is stuff happening.
These are the channels
when he
to check
sees
out.
us
These
getting
are the
yelled
things.
at, he's like, well, there are reasons for, people to be upset. Here's one.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think we'll leave it there, but yeah, I mean, the shout out is the shout out, which is why you guys wanted me to watch it. But hearing outside perspectives of like, yo, this is stupid, and just grounding yourself in reality when this community is pretty high on the game. It's hard to listen or see some of the comments when you're like, hey, that's bullshit. You probably shouldn't do that. And then the community goes, you're this, you're that, the game is, why are you, and then they just yell at you the whole time. And you're like, wait, what? Like, they said they would sell it to do this, and then they said it wouldn't. That's kind of fucked up, isn't it? And the community's like, no, man, it's totally cool. You don't understand game development. And I'm like, oh shit, maybe I'm crazy. And then, you got to listen to stuff like this to realize that you're not crazy. You're not crazy. I'm not crazy.